Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am so glad that you've joined me today. And as always, we have a really fun guest on today. This is someone who I just kind of in the back of my mind, I've wanted to have her on for a really long time. She's been a real blessing to our family, and I know she's going to be a blessing to you. Katie Kimball, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. And I just love the story of how we connected. It's a beautiful gift.
Yes, it is. So that story goes is that years ago, our family was going through this crazy kind of transition period, and we were in the process of kind of moving and figuring out what we were doing with my husband's job. And my girls had come across Kids Cook Real Food. We're talking about kids and cooking and kitchen stewardship today. And they really wanted to do this program. And I just said, it's just not in our budget to be able to do that right now. And so I reached out to Katie and I just said, hey, you don't know me, but here's our situation right now. And do you offer scholarships? And Katie, you responded to me, I think that same day. And you just said, my kids and I were just praying about this morning and asking the Lord to bring someone who we could bless with this program. And so you did, you offered us a scholarship to your program, and it was such a blessing. And so we're going to talk about that today. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you for being a blessing to us, and welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you with me today.
Yeah, well, thank you. And again, I just love hearing that story because, that was so many years ago that I don't even necessarily remember it, but that's kind of the proof that it was right from God, right? That yes, it wasn't me, it wasn't you, it was all him.
Yeah, this was probably 4 or 4.5 years ago. So it was quite some time ago. But God is faithful. He is so faithful to provide the things that he deems necessary for our families. And so I said, Katie, I want to get you on and tell more people about this really amazing organization that you have that's perfect for homeschool families. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Sure. I started my life as an elementary teacher. That was what I wanted to do since I was in preschool. I knew it was going to happen. And then I only taught for 2 years before starting our family. And I also knew I wanted to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, that I couldn't split my brain and my time that way. Cause I'm all, when I do something, I'm all in, So we now have 4 kids. They're ages 5, 8, 12, and 15. It's birthday season. So I'm really glad I aced that test right there. It's very easy to get them wrong when they're all flipping over numbers. So yeah, a huge age range from, like the kindergarten and the high schooler and everything in between. And I've always been, not always been, when I got pregnant, I began to think a lot more about healthy food and why that was important. And how God designed our bodies and the food he gave us as opposed to the food made in factories and kind of created by scientists. And I really started changing baby step style, the way our family ate. In that first year of my son's life, I spent a lot of time at the cutting board, like cutting vegetables and figuring out how to make food and making mistakes. And that's kind of where kitchen stewardship grew. Is as a teacher, my brain was always going like, how can I help other people, understand these techniques and avoid some of the mistakes they've made? And parents or moms in my Bible study and stuff are always saying, gosh, it's so hard because when you try to be healthy, it's so expensive or it takes so much time or there's all these tensions. And so that was the idea of this kitchen stewardship. How can we steward all of God's gifts, our finances, our time, our family's health, and also the environment, the world he's given us, at the same time without feeling so stretched. And so that I thought I might write a book. And someone said, you should start a blog and see if there's an audience for that. And this was 2008. I was like, what's a blog? And then 3 months later, I had started and just really enjoyed building the community of moms who also wanted to be healthy and needed kind of the grace and the baby steps.
Yeah, I love it. Well, someone like myself, if those listening have been listening to me for any length of time, that I hate to be in the kitchen. Of my responsibilities as a mom and a wife, I would rather do anything. I would rather do laundry, clean toilets, scrub the floors, clean windows, anything other than being in the kitchen. And I think part of that is just growing up. I wasn't in the kitchen a lot. We ate out a lot growing up. And when we were eating home, we did very quick, oftentimes TV dinners and pot pies and things like that. And so I just didn't grow up with that. And I don't know what it is. I know this sounds really weird, but I'm not a person who likes food. Like I like the taste of food, but I wish it wasn't required 3 times a day, every single day for life.
Oh, wow.
I've often joked with my family and said, I wish that we could be like the Jetsons. Remember that cartoon, the Jetsons?
Yeah.
And remember they had like the machine and you would just boop, boop, boop. You would pop in some, code and then out would pop a plate of food. That would be my dream, is to just, have some kind of machine in my kitchen that would just magically display for me and produce this beautiful plate of food that was healthy in every way for every member of my family for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I've realized that is not reality and that dream is never going to come true. So therefore, I was glad to find your website, Kids Cook Real Food. And, my girls have watched several of your videos and they've learned to peel carrots and to cut and to do different things in the kitchen the way that you've taught them to do so. And to be totally transparent, I still really struggle with being in the kitchen with the desire to cook. And oftentimes the know-how, I know, obviously protein and vegetables and fruits, like those things we need to have in our diet. But if it were up to me, I would have like a bowl of cereal every day for every meal because that's what's easy.
Yvette, you're totally not alone. I mean, I hear that from a lot of moms, in like the parents' generation, the parents of now. When we were kids, most of us were convenience food kids and we weren't taught to cook. And so it's really uncomfortable for us.
Right.
Which is kind of why I started Kids Cook Real Food, because I knew that it was a struggle for moms to bring their kids into the kitchen and teach those skills. And I thought, goodness, if we don't fix this, we don't start infusing cooking into the younger generation, 20 years from now, they'll be like the uncomfortable parents going, oh, I don't really know how to cook. I don't really know what I'm doing. So it's all about starting young with those healthy foundations.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because I like that you use the word uncomfortable because I've never thought of it that way, but that is exactly me. I am very uncomfortable in the kitchen. I feel like I mess up, I won't say most meals, but oftentimes I mess up meals. Either I overcook or undercook, or I don't know, or they just simply don't taste good. And I just struggle. It is uncomfortable for me to be in the kitchen. So what do you say to moms like myself, and how can we teach our kids how to eat healthy foods and then how to be good stewards in the kitchen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful to start with creation as the story, right? With, I like to tell my kids we eat things that grow in the ground and things that eat things that grow in the ground, the way God created them. So how do we do that in the kitchen? I think as moms, tapping into that motivation of just how important it is to nourish the little bodies. And, we see, I just look at statistics on health and mental health and physical health for kids and adults, and everything seems to be going up.
Right.
But I really believe that food is that root cause, that if we can fix that, we can start to smash some of these really frightening statistics. So, step one, motivation for sure. You mentioned that you don't like messing up your recipes. And I think we need a little grace and a little forgiveness for ourselves, especially thinking about our kids watching us make those mistakes and allowing them to make mistakes. We learn so much from failure. And although it's very uncomfortable to fail, being able to embrace that a little bit and sort of be a good example of how to be flexible through that is good. I know at Kitchen Stewardship, our recipes are just all easy, family friendly. I guess it's stuff that I enjoy eating, but I enjoy food. Yeah. I don't enjoy food. I'm like, oh my goodness, I could just eat all day long if I had the time. But it's all about making it a fun, engaging family activity. So that's what I'm trying to do for sure at Kids Cook Real Food, is take that heavy thinking out of it for parents. I've already taken the 30 basic skills, figured out where they belong at developmental levels and how they can kind of stack together. So you get, practice on your skills and safe, fun phrases. So, I guess the answer is I can help.
Yes. Well, help. I mean, you talk about practical ways of involving kids. How do you, let's kind of start there.
Yeah.
Is that a good starting point?
Yeah. Giving if you have kids this age, do this tomorrow kind of practical step?
Right. Yeah. I would love to just know, like, how can we practically help our kids in the kitchen and with food choices and things like that?
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about sort of 3 different age buckets. We'll start with our preschoolers. So if you've got kids 5 and under, I would say the most important thing for them is to have positive experiences in the kitchen. We know that because our generation is kind of uncomfortable, we tend to say, no, Mama doesn't need your help. I'll just get dinner done. It's faster and easier if we do it ourselves. But neurologically, that's training their brain that the kitchen's no place for them and that they don't belong. So once they're of a really helpful age, 6, 7, and 8, and you say, hey, can you come help in the kitchen? They're like, no, don't really want to. So the great thing, if you have kids under 5, is that you have a wonderful opportunity to continue that intrinsic motivation. Like, we know that those kids are going, can I help? Can I vacuum? Can I wash dishes? Like, they think chores are a privilege and that they're a fun reward, right? If we can keep them thinking that, everybody wins when they're a little bit older.
Right.
So we really want to just keep those positive experiences. And then I like to empower little kids with skills that they can do themselves. So if you think about even a 2 or 3-year-old, you can put an inch of milk in their, a little creamer pitcher or a 1-cup measuring cup. You don't need special tools, and teach them how to safely and cautiously pour it onto the cereal that you want to eat all day.
Right.
And then we're teaching a servant's heart to do these little ones. Can you pour the milk on everyone's oatmeal today or whatever? And all their, that's like preschool skills. There's all those nice little small motor skills.
Sure.
Pouring, we teach them measuring. We have our littlest ones making homemade taco seasoning. And yes, it might take them 45 minutes to blend together those like 6 spices. But once they've been trained, they can do that at the table while you're in the kitchen, preparing a meal, and it doesn't have to slow you down that much. And they feel like hot stuff every taco night when you say, oh, guess who made these tacos taste so good?
Right.
It was Gabe, because Matt's my 5-year-old, because he made the taco seasoning. So there's this huge opportunity too, to really build them up and show them that they have a place in the family. That they have. So that's your preschoolers. Okay. Little steps, positive experiences. I think pouring's a great first step, and measuring. When we talk about our early elementary kids, so 6, 7, 8, 9, basically once they can read, I just really want to encourage parents to raise the bar. Okay. Because again, you've watched your kids grow, and any homeschool mom will know that if you compare like a 5-year-old to a 7-year-old, leaps and bounds in reading and writing, right? Right. They're learning so much, but in the kitchen, we tend to still let them dump ingredients that we've already measured and stir for us. And we don't raise that bar. So as much as they're expanding their academic skills, let's have them expand household skills too. So I really want people to raise the bar and get sharp knives in those kids' hands and stovetop safety. And that's where I can help. Like, when these skills are taught properly in a safe manner and really kid-friendly phrases, that takes the worry out of knives and fire, which is, I know, a real concern. But I think even, when kids are about 7, we'll train them to use a sharp paring knife. And here's the key. Like, if you want to go home and do that right away today, that's cool. We do have a free gift for your audience too, my knife skills and safety class. So they can, which is excellent. Yeah. So they can go sign up for that and then feel even a little more confident and comfortable. But with a paring knife, the kind of the gotcha is, don't choose the wrong food. Choose things like mushrooms and strawberries that are small. Zucchinis and cucumbers are that perfect density where it's just not too hard. If you give a kid a paring knife and a carrot or an onion, you're setting themselves up for failure because it's too dense or it's too big and roly-poly. So, it's just about making conscious choices. Like, what is a safe food? Right. For a parent, don't get the kids an apple right away. Like, that's too complicated. Start small and allow them to work up. But again, they feel amazing. Kids feel incredible when they're doing real adult skills, and then they can serve the family the food, and you don't even have to say a good job. They see it on your face, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, that one video that you have of the knife safety course, and I think it's in that video where you taught them how to peel carrots. Yes, it's so good. And I started peeling carrots the way that you taught
in that video where you lay it down on I mean, I don't know, maybe other people do it this way. I always, held it in my hand and over the sink and turned it as I was peeling it. And then you taught to lay it on the cutting board and, kind of roll it and peel it while it was laying flat. And I'm like, well, that makes so much more sense. And I taught, at the time, I think my daughter was 5. And I taught her, and she still peels carrots that way. And also cutting. You taught us very specific way to cut. And so both my girls began cutting that way. And I will say, to date, we have not yet had any kind of accidents in the kitchen when it comes to knives or cutting or anything like that, because of what they were able to learn just from the simple videos that you've put together and teaching them how to properly use knives and use peelers and things like that in the kitchen. So let's take a quick break. We'll be right back and talk more about this. I think as parents, we assume that kids are going to just know the right way to do things. You have to teach them first and then train them by teaching them to do it over and over again until they actually get it.
Imagine trying to teach your child how to tie his shoes without the practice principle. If the practice principle is vital for teaching such morally neutral task as tying shoes, how much more important is it for training children in Christ-like character?
I speak to parents all the time who come up to me and they see what's happening, but they don't know what to do. And I just want to stand up and say, you can do this. Here is a solution.
This is Yvette Hampton, host of the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. Join us each week for a new episode as we offer encouragement and resources on biblical discipleship from popular speakers and authors, as well as parents just like you and me. Find out more at schoolhouserocked.com or listen anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Okay, we are back with Katie Kimball from Kids Cook Real Food and also Kitchen Stewardship. I know those are your 2 different blogs that you are in charge of. You're the mama of those blogs. Let's talk about healthy eating. And how do you see healthy eating as part of God's call to stewardship? Because you talk about kitchen stewardship, and of course, part of being a good steward of our bodies is taking care of the bodies that God has given us. It's very difficult to do the work that God's called us to if we're not healthy enough to get up in the morning and do what God's put on our plate, figuratively and literally. And so can we talk a little bit about healthy eating when it comes to stewardship?
Yeah, for sure. I know it's a sticking point for many parents, eat your vegetables. No, I don't want to. They're gross. Like nobody wants those power struggles at the table. So for me, as far as stewardship and healthy eating, obviously God created our bodies so complex and so intelligent and amazing. And what our bodies can do with a few fruits and vegetables and healthy proteins and stuff is incredible. But we've really changed our food system in the last 100 years. And I feel like food scientists, they probably don't say it or think it, but they're kind of playing God as they're shifting a lot of things right down to the genetics of our food. And that frightens me. God did a really good job. What he was doing, he is sovereign. And so I really want to teach my kids to eat the foods that he created. And, the more it was created in a lab, the less we want to eat it. I also tell them, there's a balance there too. Like if we're going to have ice cream and just, some junk food, we say, our bodies are created to handle some junk, but not too much junk. Right. If you just think about your kitchen garbage, sure, you can throw away some stuff, but if you threw away 10 times as much as would fit in the garbage, you would cause a massive problem in the kitchen. It's just the same thing in your body, right? Our liver and everything can filter some junk, but not too much. So I definitely do see it as a stewardship issue. And then when we talk about, picky eaters and how do we avoid those power struggles? There are some really good ways. I guess I'll give you my one most primary tip is that a really good dinner where the kids are going to eat what you've served begins at snack, because the proper kind of snack etiquette will determine how hungry the kids are for dinner. Yeah. Right. So I encourage parents to keep at least 90 minutes, if not 2 hours, between the end of the meal or end of the snack and the beginning of the meal. Okay. End of the meal and the beginning of the next snack. Because if kids are filling up on munchy crunchy snacks, which are fun to eat and they love, and maybe they ask for seconds, they're going to come to the table not incredibly hungry. Or if they know they can wander back into the kitchen half an hour later and get a bedtime snack or just say, oh, I'm hungry, can I have some chips? They know dinner is optional. And as parents, we cannot train them that dinner is optional, right?
Right.
We want them to come to the table hungry. And that means, the bellies and the mouths are ready to eat. And then you can serve your vegetables first and they taste better.
Yeah. Do you have some suggestions on snacks? I mean, obviously, fruit, that's an easy, give them some apples or oranges or pears, peaches, things like that. Those seem like the obvious ones. But how do you handle snacks with your kids? Do you have a specific, I've seen some moms have like a snack basket with healthy snacks and their kids are allowed to take snacks from there, or maybe a list on the refrigerator, something like that. How do you handle snacks with them? And then do you give them kind of a time limit of, okay, you can have a snack now. We're going to eat dinner at 6 o'clock. So have your snack by this specific time.
Yep. We definitely have snack time zones.
Okay.
And it's like 3:30 to 4:30 is afternoon snack. I think it's 9 to 10. We just implemented for summer household managers. So our 3 older kids are in charge of snacks and lunch for a whole day.
Okay.
So they have a list. They know that's the time. They have a list of ideas, which definitely includes fruit. It doesn't really work to do a snack basket in a real food household because we don't have packaged stuff.
Right.
So it's always, if we've made a homemade snack, it's kind of always changing and shifting what we have.
Sure.
But I know fruit is a great snack. And as long as that will satiate the kids until the next meal, that's excellent. But I do want to encourage people to think outside fruit a little bit, just because fruit only has generally carbohydrates and fiber, which is good. Right. But fat and protein are more satiating than carbs. And so maybe like if you're going to have an apple, maybe dip it in nut butter. Or like my kids love a good trail mix. We have this whole shelf of all these jars of different nuts and dried fruit and the coconut and stuff, and they'll put that together. And I know like even my 15-year-old Paul, he'll say, but you can't eat too much. Like he's learned by experience that if you eat a huge trail mix, like what looks like a teenager sized trail mix, you're too full.
Right.
So it's snack size portions are important too, but definitely thinking about including some healthy fat and protein. So like cheese and crackers is a really good idea. We do have some packaged like meat sticks around, and then there's just lots of really good homemade recipes. We're fortunate that my daughter is loving cooking right now, and she's been making a lot of really fun snacks.
And is she the one who just recently came out with a cookbook?
No, that's actually my oldest. Paul.
Oh, your son. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And is it a cookbook for kids, or is it just a cookbook in general?
It is. We're pretty sure it's the only cookbook by kids for kids that's all healthy food and allergy friendly. So it's he and 4 other friends who are all children of bloggers got together and wrote Chef Junior. It's really cool. It's a really good cookbook. We've been getting great reviews from people out there. That's
awesome. I'll Chef Junior. We'll make sure to link that in the show notes as well. And it's by Paul Kimball.
It is. Yep. And like 4 other co-authors.
We'll just put his name on it. I'm sure the others did just as good of a job helping to put it together, but that's exciting. So we are out of time for this part of the podcast, but we'll be back on Wednesday to finish this conversation. Katie, really quickly, where can people find out more about you?
Sure. kidscookrealfood.com and kitchenstewardship.com, both Facebook pages as well.
Okay. And you said you have a free gift for our listeners where they can actually download a video. Can you talk about that really quickly, and then where they can find that specific video?
You bet. That's our 10-minute knife skills and safety class for kids of all ages, 2 to teen, because we teach the same techniques, butter knife to chef knife. So they can get that at kidscookrealfood.com/SR for Schoolhouse Rocked.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we'll put those in the show notes as well. And we'll be back on Wednesday to finish up this conversation.
You're not inadequate. You are perfectly capable. I mean, what is it about a parent that when their child turns 5, all of a sudden the parent's no longer a viable option? Like, oh, you're done. Now it's the school's turn.
I think the quality of education has steadily deteriorated in America. There is an agenda to steal our children.
You feel inadequate because you've been taught by our school system that you're inadequate.
We had no frame of reference for homeschooling other than it just seemed like torture. Like, why would a sane woman choose to be locked up with her kids for 18 years in a row when a school bus would come and take them away and give you like a 9-hour break every day?
No one knows your child better than you do, and no one loves your child more than you do. And homeschooling changes the game on everything. Homeschooling allows us to say to the child, what sort of life do you want? What sort of God-given dreams, talents, and abilities is he speaking into you?
When we think about classroom education and we ask what makes for good education, almost every professional educator will say low student-teacher ratio, teachers who care, good methods, good curriculum. Well, in homeschooling, you get the best of all of those things.
What we discovered is that it's very efficient to homeschool.
You have the person who knows the student the best. You have the ability to customize the curriculum around the student. You have a great student-teacher ratio.
And I realized I am accomplishing with Sierra in 25 minutes to an hour every day what is taking the school system 8 hours a day, 5 days a week to accomplish with my older daughter. I loved watching the light bulb come on and watching her want to sit down and read with me. And I loved spending time with her.
There are just so many benefits, including being able to have a relationship with your own children.
Continue doing what you're doing. Don't give up, because I do believe that homeschool moms are America's greatest heroes.